Right. For this week's work example, we're going to do something that ties together everything from this week and actually really brings together a lot of things we've done earlier. We're going to do a post-mortem on one of the most devastating cyber attacks in history. It's called NotPetya, and it goes back to 2017, which is the same year as WannaCry. In fact, it's about a month after WannaCry. But this didn't start in the UK, this started in Ukraine. A piece of malware appeared in the Ukraine disguised as a ransomware attack. It's not ransomware, it's worse than that. It's a weapon. It was designed to destroy, not to collect payment, and it spread across the world in hours. Okay. Well, let's trace the kill chain and see. And as we do, I want you to think about where the defenses we have studied this week could have made a difference, because it could be your job in the end to make that difference. So let's start with delivery. The malware was delivered through a compromised update to Ukrainian tax software called MEDOC. MEDOC was a very standard Ukrainian tax software. Accountants across Ukraine downloaded what they thought was a routine software update. You can easily guess it wasn't. This is a supply chain attack, and it's worth pausing on because the victim organizations did nothing wrong. They applied an update from a trusted vendor. That trust was exploited. Speaking of that, let's look at the exploitation and lateral movement of the problem. Once inside a network, NotPetya used two propagation methods. First, eternal blue, the same that was used with WannaCry, for which a patch had been available for 3 months, 4 months now, I guess. Sound familiar? Second, it harvested credentials from memory using a tool called Mimikatz. Then it used these credentials to spread to every machine on the network that the compromised user had access to. If your network was flat, no segmentation, no internal boundaries, the malware reached everything. Impact. The shipping giant Maersk was hit hardest. Within hours, 49,000 laptops and 4,000 servers were destroyed. Every domain controller, the servers that managed user authentication, was wiped. Maersk could not operate. The world's largest shipping company, responsible for about 20% of global trade, was running on paper and WhatsApp. Now, here's a remarkable thing. Maersk's entire Active Directory, the authentication backbone for the whole company, was rebuilt from a single surviving domain controller. And where was that? That wasn't in Ukraine, that was in Ghana. And why did it survive? Well, because there'd been a power outage in Accra at the exact moment NotPetya was spreading. The server was therefore offline. Pure luck. No planning, pure luck. Total damage worldwide from NotPetya estimated about $10 billion. Maersk alone lost about $300 million. So let us look at how this week's lessons, had they taken our course, might have helped. So economics, lesson 6.1. Why was the patch not applied? Well, it's the same answer as WannaCry. The cost of patching was visible and immediate. The cost of not patching was uncertain and deferred. Misaligned incentives. And the supply chain attack adds another layer. MEDOC had no economic incentive to invest heavily in securing their update mechanism. The cost of their failure fell on their customers, not on them. So that's a classic kind of externality. Not my problem. It's misaligned incentives. Okay, network defense lesson 6.2. Maersk had a flat network. Once NotPetya was inside, there was no internal boundaries to stop it. If they had segmented their network with separate zones for operations, finance, email, etc., the blast radius would have been limited. That's exactly what segmentation is for. That's why we taught it to you. Detection, lesson 6.3, detection. NotPetya spread so fast that the detection barely mattered. It moved across the network in minutes. But earlier detection of the compromised MEDOC update or anomaly detection of the lateral movement patterns could have triggered containment. The kill chain had several stages where detection was theoretically possible. Incident response. Lesson 6.4. Maersk's recovery took 10 days. They rebuilt 49,000 laptops and 4,000 servers essentially from scratch. The fact that they recovered it all is remarkable. And of course, as we said before, it was because they found backups and recovery on the Ghana, the system in Ghana. If they had a recovery plan and backups ready, it would have been something they had planned for instead of just were lucky about. A tested, geographically distributed backup strategy would have made the recovery much less dependent on luck. The boardroom, lesson 6.5. After NotPetya, Maersk invested hundreds of millions in cybersecurity. The CEO said publicly that the attack taught us the importance of cybersecurity. The question is, could the business case have been made before the attack, with the risk register showing the expected cost of a supply chain attack, a quantified blast radius analysis of their flat network, and the cost of segmentation versus the cost of rebuilding? Yes, of course. The numbers were there. The incentive tax was not. That's the story of this entire week. The technology to prevent NotPetya existed. The knowledge existed. What was missing was the economic structure to make the right decisions before the crisis rather than after it. Next week, we turn to the thing that breaks all of this stuff: people. Social engineering, phishing, the human element, all the firewalls and monitoring in the world are useless if someone can talk the receptionist into holding the door open. Okay. See you in week 7.